Hi everyone. In this video let's know about some interesting facts and box office collection of the 2019 blockbuster movie The Lion King. Introduction: The Circle of Life. The movie opens with a breathtaking depiction of the African savanna during the iconic song, Circle of Life. Animals gather at Pride Rock to witness the presentation of Simba, the lion cub born to King Mufasa and Queen Sarabi, the rulers of the Pride lands. Rafiki, a wise baboon, anoints Simba, symbolizing his future as the king. Simba's early life and Scar's jealousy. Simba grows up as a playful, curious cub, learning about his kingdom and the responsibilities of being a ruler from his father, Mufasa. Meanwhile, Scar, Mufasa's scheming younger brother, resents Simba for being the heir to the throne, a position Scar desperately desires. Scar's treachery and Mufasa's death. Scar devises a plan to eliminate both Mufasa and Simba. He lures Simba into a gorge, where his hyena allies cause a wildebeest stampede. Mufasa rescues Simba but is betrayed by Scar, who pushes him off a cliff to his death. Scar convinces Simba that he is responsible for Mufasa's death and manipulates him into fleeing the Pride lands. Simba's exile. Simba, overwhelmed by guilt and grief, runs away and collapses in a distant desert. He is rescued by Timon, a meerkat, and Pamba, a warthog. They introduce Simba to a carefree lifestyle, teaching him their motto, Hakuna Matta, no worries. Simba grows into an adult lion, seemingly leaving his past behind. The decline of the Pride lands. Under Scar's rule, the Pride lands deteriorate. Scar allows the hyenas to overhunt, depleting resources and upsetting the natural balance. The once thriving kingdom becomes barren, and the lionesses, led by Sarabi, struggle to survive. Simba's journey to reclaim the throne. Simba's childhood friend, Nala, escapes Scar's tyranny to seek help. She finds Simba and urges him to return and save the Pride lands. Initially reluctant, Simba is haunted by memories of his father. A turning point comes when Rafiki guides Simba to a vision of Mufasa in the night sky, reminding him of his rightful place in the circle of life. The final battle at Pride Rock. Simba returns to confront Scar. Scar initially tries to manipulate Simba by forcing him to admit his perceived guilt in Mufasa's death. However, Simba learns the truth about Scar's treachery. A fierce battle ensues between Simba's allies and Scar's hyena army. Simba overpowers Scar and offers him mercy, but Scar's attempt to betray Simba leads to his downfall, as the hyenas, enraged by Scar's betrayal, attack and kill him. Restoration of the Pride lands. With Scar defeated, Simba assumes his place as king. He restores the Pride lands, bringing life and balance back to the kingdom. The film concludes with the presentation of Simba and Nala's cub, symbolizing the continuation of the circle of life. Differences from the original. While the 2019 version follows the same story, it introduces a more realistic visual style, minor changes to dialogue, extended scenes, example Nala's escape and Sarabi's leadership, and additional emphasis on themes like responsibility, leadership, and environmental balance. The remake offers a visually stunning yet emotionally faithful retelling of a timeless classic. The Lion King is a 2019 American musical drama film that is a photorealistically animated remake of the traditionally animated 1994 film The Lion King. Directed by Jon Favreau, written by Jeff Nathanso, and produced by Walt Disney Pictures and Fairview Entertainment, the film stars the voices of Donald Glover, Seth Rogen, Chiwetel Ejiofor, Alfre Woodard, Billy Eichner, John Carney, John Oliver, Florence Kasumba, Eric Andre, Keegan-Michael Key, J.D. McCreary, Shahadi Wright Joseph, with Beyoncé Knowles Carter, and James Earl Jones, reprising his voice role as Mufasa. The plot follows Simba, a young lion who must embrace his role as the rightful king of his homeland following the murder of his father, Mufasa, at the hands of his uncle, Scar. Plans for a remake of 1994's The Lion King were confirmed in September 2016 following box office successes for Disney remakes such as The Jungle Book, 2016. Favreau was inspired by certain roles of characters in the Broadway adaptation and developed upon elements of the original film's story. Much of the main cast signed on in early 2017, and principal photography began in mid-2017 on a blue-screen stage in Los Angeles. The virtual reality tools utilized in The Jungle Book's cinematography were used to a greater degree during the filming of The Lion King. Composers Hans Zimmer, Elton John, and lyricist Tim Rice returned to compose the score alongside Noel Carter, who assisted John in the reworking of the soundtrack and wrote a new song for the film, Spirit, which he also performed. The film is one of the most expensive films ever made, as well as the most expensive Disney remake. The Lion King premiered in Hollywood, Los Angeles on 9th July 2019, and was theatrically released in the United States on 19th July 2019, in the Dolby Cinema, RealD 3D and IMAX formats. The film received mixed reviews from critics, with many criticizing the lack of originality and for being nearly identical to the original. However, it grossed over $1.6 billion worldwide during its theatrical run, and broke several box office records, including becoming the highest-grossing animated film of all time from August 2019 to September 2024, the seventh highest-grossing film of all time, and the second highest-grossing film of 2019. The film received nominations for Best Animated Feature Film and Original Song categories at the 77th Golden Globe Awards and 25th Critics' Choice Awards. It was also nominated at 73rd British Academy Film Awards and 92nd Academy Awards, both for visual effects. Mufasa, The Lion King, a film which serves as both a prequel and a sequel, was directed by Barry Jenkins and is set for release on 20th December 2024. Plot: in the Pride Lands of Tanzania, a pride of lions rule over the animal kingdom from Pride Rock. King Mufasa and Queen Sarabi's newborn son, Simba, is presented to the gathering animals by Rafiki the mandrill, the kingdom's shaman and advisor. Mufasa's younger brother Scar, however, covets the throne. Mufasa shows Simba the Pride Lands and forbids him from exploring beyond its borders. He explains to Simba the responsibilities of kingship and the circle of life, which connects all living things. Scar manipulates Simba into exploring an elephant graveyard beyond the Pride Lands. There, Simba and his best friend, Nala, are chased by a clan of spotted hyenas led by the ruthless Shenji. Mufasa is alerted by his majordomo, the Hornbill Zazu, and rescues the cubs. Though upset with Simba for disobeying him and putting himself and Nala in danger, Mufasa forgives him. He explains that the great kings of the past watch over them from the night sky, from which he will one day watch over Simba. Scar visits the hyenas and convinces them to help him overthrow Mufasa in exchange for hunting rights in the Pride Lands. Scar sets a trap for Mufasa and Simba, luring Simba into a gorge and having the hyenas drive a large herd of wildebeest into a stampede to trample him. He informs Mufasa of Simba's peril, knowing that he will rush to save him. Mufasa saves Simba but ends up hanging perilously from the gorge's edge. Scar refuses to help Mufasa, instead sending him falling to his death. He then tricks Simba into thinking that Mufasa's death was his fault and tells him to leave the Pride Lands and never return. He orders the hyenas to kill him, but Simba escapes. Unaware of his escape, Scar tells the Pride that the stampede killed Mufasa and Simba, and that he had not arrived in time to save them. Scar steps forward as the new king, allowing the hyenas to live in the Pride Lands. Simba collapses in a desert but is rescued by two outcasts, a meerkat and warthog named Timon and Pumbaa. Simba grows up in the oasis with his two new friends and other animals, living a carefree life under the motto, Hakuna Matata, no worries, in Swahili. Meanwhile, Scar attempts to convince Sarabi to be his queen, but she refuses. A grown-up Simba rescues Timon and Pumbaa from a hungry lioness, who is revealed to be Nala. She and Simba reunite and fall in love. Nala urges Simba to return home, telling him that the Pride Lands have become a drought-stricken wasteland under Scar's reign. Still feeling guilty over Mufasa's death, Simba refuses and leaves angrily. He encounters Rafiki, who tells him that Mufasa's spirit lives on in Simba. Simba is visited by the spirit of Mufasa in the night sky, who tells him that he must take his rightful place as king. Realizing that he'd been running from his past for too long, Simba decides to return to the Pride Lands. Aided by his friends, Simba sneaks past the hyenas at Pride Rock and confronts Scar, who is attacking Sarabi. Scar taunts Simba over his supposed role in Mufasa's death. He then reveals to Simba that he killed Mufasa. Enraged, Simba tells the truth to the Pride. Scar attempts to defend himself, but his knowledge of Mufasa's last moment, despite previously claiming that he arrived too late at the gorge, exposes his role in Mufasa's death. Timon, Pumbaa, Rafiki, Zazu, and the lionesses battle the hyenas while Simba corners Scar near the top of Pride Rock. Scar begs for mercy and blames his crimes on the hyenas. Simba spares his life but orders him to leave the Pride Lands forever. Scar refuses and attacks Simba, but Simba throws him off the cliff after a brief fight. Scar survives the fall but is mauled to death by the hyenas, who overheard him betraying them. Afterwards, Simba takes over the kingship and makes Nala his queen. With the Pride Lands restored, Rafiki presents Simba and Nala's newborn cub to the assembled animals, continuing the circle of life. Voice cast: Donald Glover as Simba, a lion who is the crown prince of the Pride Lands. Glover said that the film will focus more on Simba's time growing up than the original film did, stating that Favreau was very keen in making sure we saw Simba's transition from boy to man and how hard that can be when there's been a deep trauma. 6. J.D. McCreary as young Simba. J.D. McCreary as young Simba. Seth Rogen as Pumbaa, a slow-witted warthog who befriends and adopts a young Simba after he runs away from home. Rogen said, as an actor, I don't think I'm right for every role. There are a lot of roles I don't think I'm right for even in movies I'm making, but Pumbaa was one I knew I could do well. 7. Favreau encouraged Rogen and Timon's Billy Eichner, who did their voice recordings together, to improvise a lot. 8. Rogen's casting would also mark the first time that Pumbaa was not played by Ernie Sabella, who had reprised the role for every Disney project the character was involved in up to that point. Chiwetel Ejiofor as Scar, the treacherous brother of Mufasa, the brother-in-law of Sarabi and the uncle of Simba who seeks to take the mantle of King of the Pride Lands. Ejiofor described Scar as more psychologically possessed and brutalized than in the original film. 7. Ejiofor said that, especially with Scar, whether it's a vocal quality that allows for a certain confidence or a certain aggression, to always know that at the end of it you're playing somebody who has the capacity to turn everything on its head in a split second with outrageous acts of violence that can completely change the temperature of a scene. 7. Ejiofor also said that Scar and Mufasa's relationship is completely destroyed and brutalized by Scar's way of thinking. He's possessed with this disease of his own ego and his own want. 6. Favreau said of casting Ejiofor, he is just a fantastic actor who brings us a bit of the mid-Atlantic cadence and a new take on the character. He brings that feeling of a Shakespearean villain to bear because of his background as an actor. It's wonderful when you have somebody as experienced and seasoned as Chiwetel. He just breathes such wonderful life into this character. 1. Alfre Woodard as Sarabi. The Queen of the Pride Lands, Mufasa's wife, and Simba's mother. Billy Eichner as Timon. A wisecracking meerkat who befriends and adopts a young Simba after he runs away from home. Eichner described Timon as physically the smallest character, but he has one of the bigger personalities, and I love the combination of those two things. I kind of played into Timon, as I've done with many characters of mine, the notion that he might be small in stature but he has a huge sense of entitlement, which is always funny to play, and that, when Timon speaks and when he's quote-unquote being funny, he's very loud and boisterous, but his singing allows this vulnerable side, a slightly softer side, especially in Can You Feel the Love Tonight and other moments. 8. Eichner also talked about having what some may consider a gay sensibility that he brought to the table when he voiced Timon. 9. John Carney as Rafiki. A wise mandrill who serves as the shaman of the Pride Lands, and a close friend of Mufasa's. 10. Likening his role to that of a grandfather, Carney said, Rafiki reminds all of us of that special wise relative. His wisdom, humor and his loyalty to the Mufasa dynasty is what warms our hearts towards him. He's always happy and wisecracking jokes as lessons of life and survival. 1. John Oliver as Zazu. A hornbill who is the majordomo to the king of the Pride Lands. Speaking of his role, Oliver said, I think Zazu is basically a bird who likes structure. He just wants things to be as they should be. I think there are British echoes there because we tend to favor structure in lieu of having an emotional reaction to anything. 1. Beyoncé Knowles Carter as Nala. Simba's childhood best friend and future love interest. According to Favreau, the character has a bigger role than in the original film. 11. Favreau felt that part of Beyoncé joining the film is that she's got young kids, part of it is that it's a story that feels good for this phase of her life and her career, and she really likes the original very much. And then, of course, there are these wonderful musical numbers that she can be involved with, and my God, she really lives up to her reputation as far as the beauty of her voice and talent. 7. 12. Shahadi Wright Joseph as young Nala. Joseph reprises her role from the Broadway production. 13. Joseph chose to work on the film because Nala inspires little girls. She's a great role model. 7. James Earl Jones as Mufasa. The king of the Pride Lands, Sarabi's husband and the father of Simba. Jones reprises his role from the original 1994 animated film. According to Favreau, Jones' lines remain mostly the same from the original film. 7. Ejiofor said that the comfort of Jones reprising his role is going to be very rewarding in taking the audience on this journey again. It's a once-in-a-generation vocal quality. 7. 14. Favreau saw Jones return as carrying the legacy across the original film and the remake, and felt that his voice's change in tonality compared to the original film served the role well because he sounds like a king who's ruled for a long time. 15. Florence Kasumba, Keegan-Michael Key, and Eric Andre voice Shenji, Kamri, and Ajiji, the matriarch of the Spotted Hyena clan and her two lieutenants who join forces with Scar in order to kill Mufasa. While Shenji is a character that was featured in the original 1994 animated film, Kamri and Ajiji are the respective names of new characters loosely based on Banzai and Ed from the original film. The hyenas' characterizations were heavily altered from the original films, as Favreau felt that they had to change a lot to fit the remake's realistic style, stating that a lot of the stuff around them in the original film was very stylized. 16. Kasumba elaborated, declaring that horse hyenas were funny. These hyenas are dangerous. 1. Kasumba also voices Shenji in the German dub of the film. 17. Additionally, Penny Johnson Jayalad voices Sarafina, Nala's mother. 1. Amy Sidris, Chance the Rapper, Josh McCreary, and Phil Lamar voice a guinea fowl, a bush baby, an elephant shrew, and an impala, respectively. Timon and Pumba's neighbors in the Oasis. 1. 18. Jay Lee voices a hyena that chases after Timon and Pumba. 1. Production. On 28 September 2016, Walt Disney Pictures confirmed that Jon Favreau would be directing a remake of the 1994 animated film The Lion King, which would feature the songs from the 1994 film, following a string of recent box office successes of Disney live-action remake films such as Maleficent, Cinderella, Favreau's The Jungle Book, and Beauty and the Beast, with the latter three also earning critical praise. 19. On 13 October 2016, it was reported that Disney had hired Jeff Nathanso to write the screenplay for the remake. 20. In November, talking with ComingSoon.net, Favreau said the virtual cinematography technology he used in The Jungle Book would be used to a greater degree in The Lion King. 21. Although some reports reported The Lion King would be a live-action film, it actually utilizes photorealistic computer-generated animation. Disney also did not describe it as live-action, only stating it would follow the technologically groundbreaking approach of The Jungle Book. 22. While the film acts as a remake of the 1994 animated film, Favreau was inspired by the Broadway adaptation of the film for certain aspects of the remake's plot, particularly Nala and Sarabi's roles. 23. Favreau also aimed to develop his own take on the original film's story with what he said was the spectacle of a BBC wildlife documentary. 24. This serves as the final credit for film editor Mark Livolsi, who died in September 2018. 25. The film is dedicated to him. 1. Casting. In mid-February 2017, Donald Glover was cast as Simba, with James Earl Jones reprising his role as Mufasa from the 1994 film. 26. In April 2017, Billy Eichner and Seth Rogen were cast to play Timon and Pumbaa, respectively. 27. In July 2017, John Oliver was cast as Zazu. 28. In August 2017, Alfred Woodard and John Carney were announced to play Sarabi and Rafiki, respectively. 29. 30. Earlier in March 2017, it was announced that Beyoncé Knowles Carter was Favreau's top choice for the role of Nala and that the director and studio would be willing to do whatever it took to accommodate her busy schedule. 31. Later on 1 November 2017, her role was confirmed in an official announcement. 32. 33, which also confirmed that Chiwetel Ejiofor would play the role of Scar, and announced that Eric Andre, Florence Kasumba, and Keegan-Michael Key would be the voices of Ajiji, Shenji, and Kamri, while J.D. McCreary and Shahadi Wright Joseph would be the voices of young Simba and young Nala, respectively. 34, 35, 36, 37, 38. In November 2018, Amy Sidris was announced as having been cast in a role created for the film. 39. Director Jon Favreau stated that the film's predominantly black cast was a timely update that brought greater authenticity to the film's African inspirations. 40. Visual effects. The moving picture company, the lead vendor on The Jungle Book, provided the visual effects, which were supervised by Robert Legato, Elliot Newman, and Adam Valdez. 41. The film uses virtual reality tools, according to visual effects supervisor Rob Legato. 42. Virtual production supervisor Girish Balakrishnan said on his professional website that the filmmakers used motion capture and VR/AR technologies. 43. According to Favreau, MPC worked together with tech firms Magnopus and Unity Technologies to build the film's technology platform using the Unity game engine. 44. MPC was in charge of all the VFX shots for the film. There are 1,490 VFX shots. 45. The animals were designed from art and photo references. From that, the characters were built, all the rigging, shapes, textures, and furs were rendered step by step for further improvement. After that, the animation of the animals was crafted by hand, based on the reference clips. The movements, muscles, eyes, facial expressions, and the way the animals breathed was animated for more than 30 species. The environment was created entirely in CGI from reference materials such as high-definition photos of the African landscape. All the FX simulations, such as water, dirt and fire, were created by combining VR technology with cameras shots so that scenes could be digitally built within a VR simulated environment. 24. New software developed for the movie made it possible to create scenes with the shaky cam look of a handheld camera. 46. Sean Bailey, Disney's president of production, said of the film's visual effects, "It's a new form of filmmaking. Historical definitions don't work. It uses some techniques that would traditionally be called animation, and other techniques that would traditionally be called live action. It is an evolution of the technology Jon Favreau used in Jungle Book. 47. Rather than have animators do everything, the team used artificial intelligence to allow virtual characters to behave in ways that mimicked real animals. 48. The sole non-animated shot in the entire film is the sunrise in the opening scene. 45, 49. Music. Hans Zimmer, who composed the 1994 animated version, returned to compose the score for the remake with Pharrell Williams as a collaborator. 50. Elton John also returned to rework his musical compositions from the original film before his retirement. 51. With Knowles Carter assisting John in the reworking of the soundtrack. 52. John, the original film's lyricist, Tim Rice, and Knowles Carter were also slated in 2018 to create a new song for the film. 53. However, the collaboration between Knowles Carter and John did not pan out as the unreleased song was not added to the official soundtrack. 54. John and Rice also wrote a new song for the film's end credits, titled Never Too Late and performed by John. 55. Spirit, performed by Knowles Carter and written by herself, Ilya Salmanzadeh, and Labyrinth, was released on 9th July 2019 as the lead single from the soundtrack. 56. The film also features all the songs from the original film, a cover of The Tokens, The Lion Sleeps Tonight, and the song, He Lives in You, from Rhythm of the Pride Lands and the Broadway production. 55. The soundtrack, featuring Zimmer's score and John and Rice's songs, was released digitally on 11th July 2019, and physically on 19th July 2019. 55. Knowles Carter also produced and curated an album titled The Lion King, The Gift, which features Spirit, as well as songs inspired by the film. The album was released on 19th July 2019. 56. Marketing. The first teaser trailer and the official teaser poster for The Lion King debuted during the Dallas Cowboys' annual Thanksgiving Day game on 22nd November 2018. 57, 58. The trailer was viewed 224.6 million times in its first 24 hours, becoming the then second most viewed trailer in that time period. 59. A special sneak peek featuring John Carney's voice as Rafiki and a new poster were released during the 91st Academy Awards on 24 February 2019. 60. On 10th April 2019, Disney released the official trailer featuring new footage which revealed Scar, Zazu, Simba and Nala, both as cubs and as adults, Sarabi, Rafiki, Timon and Pumbaa, and the hyenas. 61. The trailer was viewed 174 million times in its first 24 hours, which was revealed on Disney's Investor Day 2019 webcast. 62, on 30th May 2019, 11 individual character posters were released. 63, a special sneak peek featuring Beyoncé Knowles Carter's, Billie Eilish's, and Seth Rogen's voices as Nala, Timon, and Pumbaa, respectively, was released on 3rd June 2019. 64, a special sneak peek featuring Knowles Carter and Donald Glover's voices as Simba and Nala singing "Can You Feel the Love Tonight," and also featuring James Earl Jones' voice as Mufasa, was released on 20th June 2019. 65, on 2nd July 2019, Disney released an extensive behind-the-scenes featurette detailing the various aspects of the film's production along with 7 publicity stills featuring the voice actors facing their animal counterparts. 66, all in all, Disney spent around $145 million promoting the film. 67. Novelization. A teen novelization of the film written by Elizabeth Rudnick was published by Disney Publishing Worldwide on 4th June 2019. 68. Shot-for-shot claim. The trailers of the film led to a claim of its being a shot-for-shot remake of Disney's 1994 film. On 23 December 2018, Sean Bailey, Disney's president of production, said that while the film will revere and love those parts that the audience wants, there will be things in the movie that are going to be new. 47. On 18 April 2019, Favreau stated that some shots in the 1994 animated film are so iconic, he couldn't possibly change them, but, despite what the trailers suggest, this film is not just the same movie over again. 69. And later said, it's much longer than the original film. And part of what we are doing here is to give it more dimension, not just visually but both story-wise and emotionally. 70. On 30th May 2019, Favreau said that some of the humor and characterizations are being altered to be more consistent with the rest of the film. 71. And this remake is making some changes in certain scenes from the original film, as well as in its structure. 24. On 14th June 2019, Favreau said that, while the original film's main plot points would remain unchanged in the remake, the film would largely diverge from the original version, and hinted, clarification needed, that the elephant graveyard, the hyena's lair in the original film, will be replaced by a new location. 16. The film is approximately 30 minutes longer than the original. 72. Despite Favreau's claims, upon release, the film was criticized by fans and critics alike for being nearly identical to the original, with many citing its overall lack of originality as a major flaw. 73. Release. Theatrical. The Lion King premiered in Hollywood on 9th July 2019. 74. The film was theatrically released in the United States on 19th July 2019. 75. In IMAX and 3D. 76. 77. It is one of the first theatrical films to be released on Disney+, alongside Aladdin, Toy Story 4, Frozen 2, Captain Marvel, and Star Wars: The Rise of Skywalker. 78. The film began its international rollout a week before its domestic release, starting with 12th July in China. 79. Home media. The Lion King was released by Walt Disney Studios Home Entertainment on digital HD on 11th October 2019, followed by a DVD, Blu-ray, and Ultra HD Blu-ray release on October 22. 80. It started streaming on Disney Plus on 28 January 2020. 81. Reception. Box office. The Lion King grossed $543.6 million in the United States and Canada, and $1.113 billion in other territories, for a worldwide total of $1.657 billion. $63 million came from IMAX. 82. The film had a global debut of $446 million, the ninth largest of all time and the biggest opening for an animated film. 83. On 30th July 2019, The Lion King passed the $1 billion mark at the global box office. 84. The Lion King became the highest-grossing animated film of all time, a title it held until September 2024 when it was surpassed by Inside Out 2. 85. 86. N1, the highest-grossing musical film of all time. 88. The highest-grossing remake of all time, the second highest-grossing film of 2019. 89. And the seventh highest-grossing film of all time. 90. Deadline Hollywood calculated the net profit of the film to be $580 million, when factoring together all expenses and revenues. 67. United States and Canada. Beginning on 24 June 2019, which marked the 25th anniversary of the release of the original film, in its first 24 hours of pre-sales, The Lion King became the second-best pre-seller of 2019 on Fandango in that frame, behind Avengers: Endgame, while Atom Tickets reported it was their best-ever first-day sales for a family film. 91. 3 weeks prior to its release, industry tracking projected the film would gross $150–170 million in its domestic opening weekend. 92. 93. By the week of its release, estimates had the film debuting to as much as $180 million from 4,725 theaters, beating Avengers: Endgame's record of 4,662. The film made $77.9 million on its first day, including $23 million from Thursday night previews. 94. It went on to debut to $191.8 million over the weekend, the highest opening total of the Disney reimaginings of animated films, beating Beauty and the Beast's $174.8 million, a July release, Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows Part 2's $169.2 million, N2. And Favreau's career, Iron Man 2's $128.1 million. 95. 96. The film had a slightly higher than expected drop of 60% in its second weekend, but still topped the box office with $76.60 million. 97. 98. It was dethroned by newcomer Hobbs and Shaw in its third weekend but still grossed $38.5 million, crossing the $400 million mark in the process. 99. 100. On 21st August. It became the second animated film to have grossed $500 million at North America box office, after Incredibles 2. 101. At the end of the film's box office run, it was the second highest grossing film of 2019 in this region behind Avengers: Endgame. 102. Other territories. The film was expected to gross around $450 million over its first 10 days of a global release, including $160–170 million from its worldwide opening weekend. 4. In China, where it released a week prior to the rest of the world, the film was projected to debut to $50–60 million. 79. It ended up opening to $54.2 million. Besting the debuts of The Jungle Book and Beauty and the Beast. 103. Over its first 8 days of global release, the film made a total of $751 million, including $351.8 million from overseas territories. This included $269.4 million from its opening weekend, sans China, with its largest countries being the United Kingdom, Ireland and Malta, $20.8 million, France, $19.6 million, Mexico, $18.7 million, Brazil, $17.9 million, South Korea, $17.7 million, Australia, $17.1 million, and Russia, $16.7 million, second largest ever in the country, as well as $6 million in the Netherlands, the best opening of a film ever in the country. 83. As of 16 September 2019, the film's top 10 largest markets were China, $120.4 million, the United Kingdom, Ireland and Malta, $91.3 million, France, $79 million, 104, Brazil, $69.1 million, second highest all-time in the country, Japan, $60 million, Germany, $53.8 million, Mexico, $51.8 million, Russia, $47.3 million, Australia, $42.8 million, and Italy, $40 million. 105, 106. The film became the first animated and musical film to gross $1 billion at overseas box office. As of September 2019, the film became the highest-grossing film of all time in the Netherlands, $30.2 million, surpassing previous record held by Titanic, $28.5 million including re-release, 107, and South Africa, $107.6 million, $7.29 million, surpassing Black Panther in local currency terms, in dollar terms, is still second highest of all time, 108. Meanwhile, the film became the highest-grossing films of 2019 in many other countries and regions, Austria, 109, Belgium and Luxembourg, 110. Bulgaria, 111, France, Algeria, Monaco, Morocco and Tunisia, 112, Italy, 113, Lithuania, 114, Norway, 115, Portugal and Angola, 116, Russia, 117, Serbia and Montenegro, Slovenia, 118, Sweden, 119, Switzerland, 120, and Spain. 121. It is also the highest-grossing foreign film of 2019 in Poland, 122. In India, the film grossed $26.3 million, making it the fourth highest-grossing Hollywood or foreign films of all time, highest-grossing animated film of all time, both local and foreign films, and one of top 50 highest-grossing films of all time in India. 123, 124. In Europe, Middle East, and Africa, the film surpassed Avengers: Endgame to become the fourth highest-grossing film of all time and highest-grossing film of 2019 across the region. 125. Critical response. The review aggregator website Rotten Tomatoes reported a critics' approval rating of 52% with an average rating of 6/10, based on 437 reviews. The website's critical consensus reads, "While it can take pride in its visual achievements, The Lion King is a by-the-numbers retelling that lacks the energy and heart that made the original so beloved, though for some fans that may just be enough." 126. It is the highest-grossing film with a Rotten rating on Rotten Tomatoes. Metacritic gave the film a weighted average score of 55 out of 100, based on 54 critics, indicating mixed or average reviews. 127. Audiences polled by CinemaScore gave the film an average grade of A on an A+ to F scale, and those at PostTrack gave the film a 4 out of 5 stars. 94. Some critics praised the fidelity to the original, while others criticized it for its lack of originality. 128. Kenneth Turan at the Los Angeles Times called the film polished, satisfying entertainment. 129. Todd McCarthy at The Hollywood Reporter considered it to be inferior to the original, noting, "The film's aesthetic caution and predictability begin to wear down on the entire enterprise in the second half." 130. At The Guardian, Peter Bradshaw found the film watchable and enjoyable. "But I missed the simplicity and vividness of the original hand-drawn images." 131. Among the vocal performances, the roles of Aishna and Rojan as Timon and Pumbaa, respectively, received particular praise by critics. 132, 133, 134, 135, with the AV Club's A.A. Dowd proclaiming, "Ultimately, only Billy Eichner and Seth Rogen, as slacker sidekicks Timon and Pumbaa, make much of an impression. They're funny. Possibly ad-libbed banter feels both fresh and true to the spirit of the characters. The perfect remake recipe. 136. William Bibbiani of The Wrap wrote in his review, Jon Favreau's remake looks incredibly literal, but the digital animal performers lack the facial expressions and body movement to tell the story. 137. Sriparna Sengupta of the Times of India praised the film, giving it a score of 3.55 and stating, for those who haven't seen the original, The Lion King, 2019, is certainly worth a watch for its gorgeous visuals and technical genius. 138. Helen O'Hara of Empire gave the film 3/5 stars, saying, The Great Circle of Life has thrown up a gorgeous, star-studded story, but trading feeling for realism means that we lose something of the original film's excellence. 139. Matt Zoller Seats of RosRebirth.com gave the film 3/4 stars, saying, The worst thing you can say about this movie, and perhaps the highest compliment you can pay it, is to say it would be even more dazzling if it told a different story with different animals and the same technology and style, and maybe without songs, because you don't necessarily need them when you have images that sing. 140. Kevin Meher of The Times gave the film 4/5 stars, praising it as an improvement over the original, though he criticized the ending as descend, into a sprawling Avengers-style Donnybrook with little dramatic resonance. 141. Edward Porter of the Sunday Times gave the film 3/5 stars, praising the visuals and performances, but criticizing the lack of expressiveness of the characters' faces. 142. Prequel. On 29 September 2020, Deadline Hollywood reported that a follow-up film was in development with Barry Jenkins attached to direct. 165. While The Hollywood Reporter said the film would be a prequel about Mufasa during his formative years, Deadline said it would be a sequel centering on both Mufasa's origins and the events after the first film, similar to The Godfather Part 2. Jeff Nathanso, the screenwriter for the remake, has reportedly finished a draft. 166, 167. In August 2021, it was reported that Aaron Pierre and Kelvin Harrison Jr. had been cast as Mufasa and Scar respectively. 168. The film will not be a remake of The Lion King 2, Simba's Pride, the 1998 direct-to-video sequel to the original animated film. 169. In September 2022 at the D23 Expo, it was announced that the film will be titled Mufasa, The Lion King, and that it will follow the titular character's origin story. Seth Rogen, Billy Eichner, and John Carney will reprise their roles as Pumbaa, Timon, and Rafiki, respectively. The film is scheduled to release on 20th December, 2024. 170. 171. Citations. The Lion King Press Kit, PDF. wdfile.com Walt Disney Studios. Archived, PDF, from the original on 10th July 2019. Retrieved 11th July 2019. The Lion King, PG. British Board of Film Classification. 4th July 2019. Archived from the original on 21st July 2019. Retrieved 11th July 2019. Giardina, Caroline, 19th July 2019. The Lion King, virtual production, could be a game-changer for filmmaking. The Hollywood Reporter. Archived from the original on 1st August 2019. Retrieved 2nd August 2019. D'Alessandro, Anthony, Tartaglione, Nancy, 16th July 2019. The Lion King, expected to leave a big paw print around the world with $450 M+ total by Sunday preview. Deadline Hollywood. Archived from the original on 22nd July 2019. Retrieved 16th July 2019. The Lion King, 2019. Box Office Mojo. IMDb. Archived from the original on 8th November 2019. Retrieved 14th December 2021. What to expect from the characters in the upcoming The Lion King adaptation. Entertainment Weekly, YouTube. 25th April 2019. Event occurs at 0:19. Archived from the original on 21st July 2019. Retrieved 29th April 2019. Snetica, Mark, 25th April 2019. The Lion King, EW visits the set of Disney's rule-breaking beast of a remake. Entertainment Weekly. Archived from the original on 2nd August 2019. Retrieved 3rd February 2018. Snetica, Mark, 3rd May 2019. The Lion King, How Billy Eichner and Seth Rogen Put a New Twist on Timon and Pumbaa. Entertainment Weekly. Archived from the original on 23rd September 2019. Retrieved 29th July 2019. Very, Adam, 13th July 2019. Billy Eichner wants more LGBTQ characters in animated movies. BuzzFeed News. Archived from the original on 2nd September 2019. Retrieved 29th July 2019. Lion King 2019, first teaser trailer released for new film. BBC. 23rd November 2018. Archived from the original on 23rd November 2018. Retrieved 9th July 2019. Mizoguchi, Karen, 24th June 2019. Beyoncé wrote and performed a brand new song for Lion King soundtrack, Jon Favreau confirms. People. Archived from the original on 25th June 2019. Retrieved 15th July 2019. Snetica, Mark, 26th April 2019. How Jon Favreau's The Lion King landed Beyoncé. Entertainment Weekly. Archived from the original on 26th April 2019. Retrieved 2nd May 2019. Truitt, Brian, 23rd March 2019. Meet Shahadi Wright Joseph, the breakout horror warrior in Jordan Peele's Us. USA Today. Archived from the original on 24th March 2019. Retrieved 29th March 2019. Snetica, Mark, 26th April 2019. The Lion King director recalls James Earl Jones' powerful return as Mufasa. Entertainment Weekly. Archived from the original on 26th April 2019. Retrieved 2nd May 2019. Travis, Ben, 12th June 2019. The Lion King, Jon Favreau on the return of James Earl Jones' exclusive image. Empire. Archived from the original on 12th June 2019. Retrieved 9th July 2019. Houghton, Ryan, 14th June 2019. The Lion King director reveals the biggest change from the original. Digital Spy. Archived from the original on 14th June 2019. Retrieved 16th June 2019. Deutsch Synchronkarte Vertical Bar Film Vertical Bar Der Konig der Loen. www.synchronkarte.de. Archived from the original on 11th July 2019. Retrieved 10th April 2020. Bell, Brianna, 10th July 2019. Chance the Rapper says he joined The Lion King cast as a nostalgia consultant. Variety. Archived from the original on 11th July 2019. Retrieved 15th July 2019. Disney and Jon Favreau joining forces on The Lion King. The Walt Disney Company. 28th September 2016. Archived from the original on 29th September 2016. Retrieved 9th July 2019. Fleming, Mike Jr., 13th October 2016. Disney's live-action, Lion King, taps Jeff Nathanso as writer. Deadline Hollywood. Archived from the original on 15th October 2016. Retrieved 9th July 2019. Bush, Jenna, 30th November 2016. Jon Favreau to use VR tech for live-action Lion King. Coming soon.net archived from the original on 2nd December 2016. Retrieved 9th July 2019. Amidi, Amid, 28th September 2016. Get it right. Disney is doing an animated, not live-action, remake of The Lion King. Cartoon Brew. Archived from the original on 29th September 2016. Retrieved 13th June 2018. Hollywood Reporter. 4th October 2018. Archived from the original on 7th October 2018. Retrieved 10th November 2018. Gonzalez, Sandra, 18th February 2017. Donald Glover, James Earl Jones cast in Disney's live-action, Lion King. CNN. Archived from the original on 28th July 2017. Retrieved 18th February 2017. Seth Rogen and Billy Eichner to play Pumbaa and Timon in Lion King, exclusive. The Wrap. 25th April 2017. Archived from the original on 26th April 2017. Retrieved 26th April 2017. Donnelly, Matt, 10th July 2017. John Oliver joins Disney's live-action, The Lion King. The Wrap. Archived from the original on 10th July 2017. Retrieved 11th July 2017. Galuppo, Mia, 7th August 2017. Alfre Woodard joins Disney's The Lion King, exclusive. The Hollywood Reporter. Archived from the original on 8th August 2017. Retrieved 8th August 2017. Gonzalez, Umberto, Verhoeven, Beatrice, 7th August 2017. Lion King, Rafiki casting, John Carney, Civil War, star, to play Wise Baboon, exclusive. The Wrap. Archived from the original on 7th August 2017. Retrieved 7th August 2017. Beyoncé top choice to voice Nala in Lion King, Remake, exclusive. Variety. 30th March 2017. Archived from the original on 21st June 2017. Retrieved 17th June 2017. Verhoeven, Beatrice, 1st November 2017. Beyoncé will voice Nala in live-action adaptation of The Lion King. The Wrap. Archived from the original on 2nd November 2017. Retrieved 1st November 2017. Palota, Frank, 2nd November 2017. Beyoncé joins cast of Disney's live-action, Lion King. CNN. Archived from the original on 2nd November 2017. Retrieved 2nd November 2017. Shahadi Wright Joseph Playbill Walt. Playbill. Archived from the original on 30th May 2019. Retrieved 6th January 2019. Chiwetel Ejiofor will voice Scar in The Lion King. Archived from the original on 3rd December 2017. Retrieved 7th August 2017. Smith, Rees, 2nd November 2017. The Lion King, 2019 release date, cast including Beyoncé, plot synopsis and more. Express.co.uk, archived from the original on 8th November 2017. Retrieved 9th November 2017. Lion King's young Simba actor signs with ICM Partners, exclusive. The Hollywood Reporter. 2nd November 2017. Archived from the original on 4th November 2017. Retrieved 4th November 2017. Shahadi Wright Joseph as young Nala. New York Daily News. 2nd November 2017. Archived from the original on 7th November 2017. Retrieved 4th November 2017. Donnelly, Matt, 26th November 2018. Lion King adds Amy Sidris in original voice role, exclusive. Variety. Archived from the original on 4th July 2019. Retrieved 26th November 2018. Jon Favreau on The Lion King's predominantly black cast vertical bar The Voice Online. Archive.voiceonline.co.uk, retrieved 2nd July 2024. The Lion King, The Art of VFX. The Art of VFX. www.artofvx.com, archived from the original on 1st January 2019. Retrieved 1st January 2019. Giardina, Caroline, 15th July 2017. Lion King, Disney unveils jaw-dropping first footage of Jon Favreau's remake at D23. The Hollywood Reporter. Archived from the original on 16th July 2017. Retrieved 15th July 2017. The Lion King. Girish Balakrishnan. Archived from the original on 24th November 2018. Retrieved 23rd November 2018. Giardina, Caroline, 5th December 2019. Why Jon Favreau chose Baby Yoda? We don't know a lot of details about his species. The Hollywood Reporter. Los Angeles, Prometheus Global Media. Archived from the original on 6th December 2019. Retrieved 28th December 2019. At Jon_Favreau, 26th July 2019. This is the only real shot in Hush the Lion King. There are 1490 rendered shots created by animators and CG artists. I slipped in one single shot that we actually photographed in Africa to see if anyone would notice. It is the first shot of the movie that begins the circle of life, tweet. Archived from the original on 28th July 2019 via Twitter. Fonda, Ryan, 26th July 2019. The Lion King's VR helped make a hit. It could also change movie making. Los Angeles Times. Archived from the original on 29th July 2019. Retrieved 11th August 2019. Trigg, Eric, 23rd December 2018. Disney's The Lion King won't be a shot-for-shot remake of animated original. Screen Rant. Archived from the original on 3rd January 2019. Retrieved 2nd January 2019. Anthony, 30th July 2019. How the new Lion King came to life. TechCrunch. Archived from the original on 7th August 2019. Retrieved 11th August 2019. Smith, Nigel, 29th July 2019. The Lion King director reveals there's one real shot in hit CGI remake. People. Archived from the original on 14th December 2019. Retrieved 28th August 2020. Hood, Cooper, 1st November 2017. Hans Zimmer set to score Disney's live-action The Lion King. Screen Rant. Archived from the original on 7th January 2018. Retrieved 3rd February 2018. Archived from the original on 7th January 2018. Retrieved 3rd February 2018. Elton John will make millions with live-action remake of The Lion King. New York Daily News. 28th November 2017. Archived from the original on 28th November 2017. Retrieved 28th November 2017. Beyoncé and Elton John were reportedly working on new versions of The Lion King songs. NME. 29th November 2017. Archived from the original on 4th December 2017. Retrieved 5th December 2017. It's the circle of cash, and it moves us all out to the theaters. 23rd April 2022. If only it could move us inside. Let's be honest. Disney has never been a non-profit-making organization, and Uncle Walt was a man of vision and economical flair. Still, before turning into a voracious corporate blob, Disney was still the quintessential dream factory and nostalgia builder for many, many, many generations. And even for these direct-to-video sequels that spread all over the 2000s like a bad cold, some brain cells of imaginations were mobilized. But now Disney's not even trying to pretend, investing all the efforts on a pure technical level and the kind of marketing that speaks for itself. It is one thing to adapt fairy tales into live actions. Before Cinderella, there was Enchanted, Maleficent, or even Tim Burton's Alice in Wonderland. And yet Disney executives found the trick. It's not about adapting the fairy tale but the Disney version of it. Thorns are still invisible over the head with the 2 round ears, but right now in 2022, it seems that awakening your inner child isn't a motto anymore but a formula. The formula could have interesting results. The 2016 Jungle Book film could center on Little Mowgli and diverged from the 1967 film. Same with Dumbo or Aladdin. But exclusively animal-centered movies like The Lion King, Bambi, or The Lady and the Tramp are a different challenge. You've got to humanize the way animals could act, react or display emotions. Take the kiss between Lady and the Tramp. The magic is not within the moment their mouths meet but the cute and genuine embarrassment that follows. You can't animate these emotions with live-action animals with all the technology of the world. Indeed, if your purpose is that your lion looks real, you can't expand the range of facial expressions. Remember in 101 Dalmatians, the way Pongo and Perdita looked at each other at the end of the garden scene? Reproducing that with real-looking animals is inconceivable, couldn't work, wouldn't work. And that's the ultimate wager of photorealistic remakes. Achieve documentary-like realism with storylines that were designed for hand-drawn or at the very least CGI animation. Toy Story, CGI I mean. And that leads to even more perplexing results when it comes to surreal sequences like I Just Can't Wait to Be the King, where 2 normal-looking cubs are casually running across pink flamingos, or the moment that precedes Simba's epiphany where the figure of Mufasa is barely visible in the sky, not to mention that some lines were cut from the original. Now, maybe Disney takes for granted our passion for the Lion King and considers that we are there to fill the gaps. It's true, I did enjoy the film to the degree that it reminded of The Lion King, which is a high point of my childhood, but at the end of the day, my mind was full of afterthoughts. To put it simple, I realized it was an enjoyment by proxy. The problem of The Lion King isn't that it's good or bad. It is certainly a remarkable achievement on the field of animation. The problem is that it is problematic. Yes, I'm talking in circles, but that's a circle Disney has just taken us into, and that makes it rather impossible to figure what is wrong with these photorealistic films. We know there's something that doesn't look right, maybe on a pure reason to be way. The Lion King is one of the classics of animation, a masterpiece that speaks highly of the dedication of old-school Disney team of animators. 1995 would change the games with the first CGI, and so in a way, The Lion King was the culmination of that traditional hand-drawn art. Not only that, but its story, very simple and straightforward, carried the gravitas and dramas of movie classics. Characters like Scar, Mufasa, Simba are all printed in our memories, the songs became pop culture monuments, scenes have been parodied countless times. The Lion King became a household name for Disney excellence. And certainly one of the greatest opening sequences of history, the shivers down your spine sent by the sight of Rafiki carrying little Simba is one of these moments you can't just duplicate. As viewers pointed out, many things are missing. Where is the friendly nod Mufasa gives Zazu? Or that hug between Rafiki and Mufasa? Mufasa comes across as a stone-faced patriarch posing like a library statue, and waiting for our nostalgic pheromones to instill some life in him. Maybe we were just curious to see how they'd pull this out. I guess if I was told about an animated version of The Godfather, no matter how ludicrous it sounds, I would have given a shot. The Lion King was such a big deal, viewers did came to see and made it one of the highest grossing films of the year. Fair enough, but what's that does say exactly? That half the job was done and make a copy of something great to make something of equally promising greatness? The purpose of a remake is to bring something new. But The Lion King 2019 doesn't bring anything new except for the realistic animation that doesn't look like an improvement anyway. Scar looks like a washed-out lion who shampooed his mane with paint thinner, without 1/10 the suave charisma of the original. James Earl Jones' voice looks like he was only testing the microphone or was bored to death, which actually matched the look of the used-to-be majestic lion. And I swear the savannah and jungle never looked so dismal with tones of beige and yellowish green that reminded me of that water truce sequence in The Jungle Book. So much for the bright colors and the escapism. And the only thing visible right now are the thorns on the head, and the round ears have turned pointy. No, it's not the devil, but a cow, a cash cow. 1994's The Lion King is not just one of my favorite Disney films, it is also one of my favorite animated films and one of my favorites overall. Beautiful animation, some of Disney's most iconic songs and amazing score, an entertaining and powerful story with unforgettable moments, terrific voices, especially James Earl Jones and Jeremy Irons, and joint best beginning to a Disney film alongside The Hunchback of Notre Dame. Disney's live-action films are often frowned upon. They often have been described as pointless, and many feel that Disney are running out of ideas. Can totally understand this, as the small handful that have been made so far have not really been necessary, but the quality of them have varied. Cinderella and The Jungle Book were great and by far the best of the remakes, but the rest have left me mixed. Will admit to not really seeing the point of this version and was not massively impressed by the trailer, but saw it anyway being such a fan of Disney and because my sister desperately wanted to see it. Watching it way back when it first came out, but with being behind with my reviewing it took me to now to review it, it was a little better than expected and not as bad as others have said. My sister did like it a lot better than me, with my feelings being quite lukewarm. I am really trying not to compare and try and judge it on its own terms, but sometimes it is hard when the quality of a remake, follow-up or another adaptation is very far removed from something so good, and that is the case with comparing both The Lion King films. The Lion King, 2019, does have good things. The best thing about it by a mile is the visuals, which are absolutely fantastic. Something of a technical achievement, with the scenery being breathtaking in every sense, Circle of Life being a notable example, and the characters, excepting their eyes needing more expression, blend very realistically in a way where one gets the sense that this was a nature documentary. The score is still powerful, especially in the Stampede, and one of Disney's most iconic tearjerkers. Have always loved the songs, and with 2 exceptions they still make an impact. Circle of Life is truly awe-inspiring and the closest the film came to making me cry. Most of the dialogue has some moments of humor, Timon and Pumbaa, and tension, the hyenas. The story has its moments. Cannot praise Circle of Life enough. Timon and Pumbaa are amusing and the stampede is intense, not goosebump-inducing though, even though everybody who has seen the original will know the outcome. Making the hyenas scarier and fleshing out the lionesses a little more were good moves. Actually thought that a lot of the voice work was not bad at all, Billy Eichner and Seth Rogen being so much fun and by far the best faring of the voices. They were clearly having fun too with the improvising, and their comic timing is full of exuberance not obvious elsewhere. Florence Kasumba's Shenjai is very different, the opposite in fact, to Whoopi Goldberg's, and the more sinister edge worked very well. James Earl Jones, the only voice actor to reprise his role, still has Mufasa's booming dignity, and Donald Glover does quite well. Didn't care for some however. Was mixed on John Oliver, who is fun but overdoes it at times. Beyoncé comes over as very out of place, her voice not fitting how Nala looks, and she even sounded bored. Chiwetel Ejiofor, a good actor who was brilliant in 12 Years a Slave, was the biggest disappointment, found him too subdued for Scar, and he is nowhere near as menacing or enjoys himself as much as Irons, whose voice work is some of the best for any Disney and animated film. While Circle of Life, I Just Can't Wait to Be King, and Hakuna Matata come off well, especially Circle of Life, Be Prepared, was bizarre and quite over the top. What a way to waste one of the greatest Disney villain songs. Can You Feel the Love Tonight was reminiscent of decent at best karaoke. Spirit is even worse. That did not fit within the film and was more an excuse for Beyoncé to show off her vocal chops, and have actually heard much better singing from her. Excepting the hyenas being scarier, some additional dialogue and the lionesses being more fleshed out, The Lion King suffers from being too faithful and not having enough of its own identity. Too many of the scenes are near carbon copies with only fleeting moments of heart and soul. Mostly the film emotionally is very bland. The big death scene, heart-wrenching before, is treated in too throwaway a fashion. The additional dialogue and any interpolations are not for the better either and actually rather jar, while the cuts and changes were not necessary. The eyes and facial expressions for the characters, especially Scar, lack nuance and are at times borderline creepy. If anything, it's a monumental technical achievement. As nature documentaries go, the modern remake of The Lion King, 2019, gives some of the best a run for their money, quite literally. With a $250 million price tag, it achieves digitally what David Attenborough has spent his life capturing on camera. The result is jaw-droppingly photorealistic, but it also makes for a strange first impression. Imagine watching a Disney nature feature but with actors reading the Lion King screenplay over the top of it, and the effect would be eerily similar. It takes time to accept lifelike-looking animals talking like cartoon characters, but the groundbreaking technical skill in which they are brought to life makes the bumpy journey worthwhile. Every tress of fur, crack in the arid soil and sunswept vista is rendered in such immense detail that it's unsurprising that many people are calling this reboot live action. It's a monumental technical achievement, and the level of visual fidelity on display alone warrants seeing this film on the biggest screen possible. However, in terms of the story, the film follows the original so closely that it can't help but feel second-rate. Scene by scene, it dutifully ticks off the story beats of the 1994 original, with little by way of surprises in between. It also doesn't help that film's photorealism unavoidably limits the ability of the animals to convey emotion without looking unnatural or, naturally, cartoonish, and the result is a film that often creates indifference where there should be wonder. With jaw-dropping visuals, plenty of humor and solid renditions of timeless songs, it's hard to see this modern remake failing, but, as it turns out, The Lion King's 2019 biggest achievement also ends up being its biggest flaw. Just watch the original. 1. This is obviously not live action, it's animation. Stop saying it's live action. Do you see real lions? 2. None of the animals have any expression. This is supposed to be a dramatic musical based on Hamlet, and they populated an emotionally driven story with expressionless characters. 3. The music has been changed for the worse. Musical stings are edited in at the wrong moments. The music is poorly mixed. Be Prepared was completely neutered. Beyoncé's 3-chord song doesn't sound remotely African and doesn't fit with the rest of the music. 4. There are good actors cast in this movie, and some non-actors, but neither groups seems to have been directed as to how to voice an animated character, or how to take on the aspects of the animal they were portraying. Compared to Eartha Kitt as Catwoman or even the performances from the 1994 movie, the delivery is very flat and uninspired. 5. James Earl Jones is a great actor, but casting him in his old age and deteriorating physical condition, expecting him to somehow match or exceed his performance from 25 years ago doesn't make sense, especially when every other role was recast. He just doesn't sound good. They could have paid him the same and reused his recordings from the original and it would have been better. 6. The changes made to the story don't seem to have a point, they're not motivated by emotion or the characters. 7. 2 stars for all the animators who actually tried to make a good movie. 8. All this boils down to, let's make it different enough so people don't complain that it's just the same movie, except all the changes made have just made it worse. Stop paying Disney to lazily remake your childhood. My question going into the latest, Pay Us For Your Nostalgia, Disney remake was, why do we need this? What new can it bring? Technically, the CGI animation is impressively state-of-the-art and new. Otherwise, my worst fears were warranted. It's not just similar to its source material but is 100% the same in almost every aspect. From moment 1, when the iconic Na Savinya bursts forth, I realized they were so beholden to the 94 classic they didn't even bother re-recording that vocal. It sets the stage for both the larger things, story beats scenes, as well as the smaller things, specific line deliveries, to be a lazy karaoke tune. So frustratingly unimaginatively, it makes 2019's Aladdin look like a feat of original storytelling. Thankfully, the greatness of the story is left untouched. Watch it for the aesthetics, not the heart. It's pretty much like everyone else is saying, it's beautiful, but it's missing the heart the original has. But I expected that going in. The original is sort of untouchable. Plus it was a cartoon, this is not a cartoon. Overall, it was better than I expected it to be. The story is the same as the original. They didn't change much, they just mostly took the cartoony parts out so it would be more realistic, which I was fine with. It wasn't a complete shot-for-shot remake, but pretty close. They changed the lines a bit and there were some funny parts. Definitely more of a recreation of the original. The voice acting isn't amazing. I liked Zazu, Timon and Pumbaa the most. Mufasa is still the same voice, good call. Disney, the hyenas were pretty good, and Scar was mostly good. Young Simba and Nala were fine. Young Nala's singing voice was impressive. Adult Simba was okay, but I hated Beyoncé for adult Nala. She was just god-awful. And somehow she butchered Can You Feel the Love Tonight? Wow! And that song has never been my favorite, but the new one is just so much worse. Very cringy. So now for the best part. The CGI. I have never seen anything like it. Just ridiculously gorgeous. I couldn't believe how much work went into this. I had to stop the movie in the beginning to Google if I was watching an actual live-action movie with CGI over it. Nope, totally CGI. Incredible. That right there makes it worth the watch. This movie is a one-time watch for me. I would say it's worth it if you've got nothing else going on and you wanted to experience it for the beautiful CGI and indulge in a little nostalgia. Garbage. I did not want to see this movie. I did not want the mouse to think that I in any way support this new trend of simply remaking old Disney classics with wooden actors and sparkling CGI. But alas, I was dragged into the movie theater anyway, and here I am, telling you that I'm deeply ashamed that the great black mouse of Disney has my money. Yet again. Because I was right in not wanting to see this film. Because this is the bottom of the barrel. The other movies have kind of been shot-for-shot remakes, but every single one of them has had at least something new. Some other angle, some twist, to make it interesting. This, on the other hand? Holy cow in heaven, is this bad? The Beginning, for example. You know, The Circle of Life, one of the most recognizable and striking movie openings in history. The exact same. Shot for shot, camera angle for camera angle, the exact same. Except, you know, not as colorful, iconic or fetching. Because it's supposed to look real. Which in this case apparently means that everything looks either more wrinkled, dusty or dirty in general. Because that's Serengeti for you. According to the filmmakers. Luckily they stopped with the exact shot for shot soon after that, thank heavens, but that was only a minor relief. Because you know what else happens, when you try to make everything look as real as possible. Aside from everything looking like it's going to give you fleas. It makes everything look emotionless. Lions are not exceptionally renowned for their wide range of facial expressions, you know. The reason you can make animated movies with animals as the main characters is because animation doesn't care that lions can't have facial expressions. You can go outside the realms of biology and what's strictly speaking possible. You can exaggerate, emote and play loose with the rules. You can use colors, shapes and perspectives to compensate, to make it look interesting. This film has none of that. It's a dull, emotionless, flat table reading of dialogues we all know and love, but which are given nothing to support them. Not helping the matter is the fact that they hired celebrity voice actors. These people are talented entertainers, yes, and they look fetching on a poster, but none of them is exactly renowned for their voice acting capabilities. And boy does that show. Even James Earl Jones sounds like he's about to keel over and pass beyond the veil at any moment. There's very little of the majesty and gravitas of the original Mufasa left in his performance. And I actually misspoke earlier. This thing has one new thing in it. A song. A song by Beyoncé, named Spirit. Because apparently that was the price of getting her on board. Or perhaps Disney wants an original song Oscar nomination. I don't know, but the song is awful and feels exactly like what it is. A forced, jammed-in last-minute addition. Saints in Heaven, was this a bad movie? It's a bit over a week after I saw it, but writing this review actively ruined my morning. I feel awful even thinking about this. about the fact that Disney has made incredible amounts of money with this. That they're going to keep making these. The lion's share of nostalgia. The Lion King is great, that is a fact. The original animated film is Disney Gold, and this film captures that, for the most part, incredibly well. But, so often, the film is just a carbon copy of the original, scene for scene, with the same soundtrack, songs, cinematography and moments. True, there are some additional scenes added in, and some changes do occur, don't get me wrong, and occasionally, John Oliver as Zazu and Seth Rogen as Pumbaa insert some alternate, and very funny lines, but the film is, at its core, so close to being a mirror image to the original, that it's surreal. I will admit, the special effects are utterly perfect, and truly breathtaking to watch. It is impossible to tell this utterly perfect work of art apart from reality. That aside, it is still just a copy. Who has seen the Poseidon Adventure? Who saw the new Poseidon Adventure? Who saw Poseidon? All different, similar story, but each offer their own unique take on the narrative. Who saw Godzilla 1954? Who saw the 1997 American remake? God help me, I'm actually using this film to make a point. Who saw Godzilla 2014? Each of these films brings something new to the properties, with each project being vastly different. The Lion King, however, is thoroughly predictable. Some people will argue that is a good thing, and I understand that. Those I saw the movie with this evening said it reminded them of their childhood, their old friends, and what they used to do. It was incredibly nostalgic and melancholic for them, and I can't deny that I occasionally felt chills just watching it, in a good way, mind you. Donald Glover and Beyoncé absolutely knock it out of the park with their rendition of the tunes, and their voice acting of the central protagonists was really on the mark, though Beyoncé deserved significantly more opportunities because, you could just tell, she was loving the role. Florence Kasumba as hyena leader, Shenji, was a definite standout. She brought an undeniable sinisterness to the role that was absent from the animated feature, and Chiwetel Ejiofor as Scar was just sublime. Ejiofor's voice alone gave amazing presence to the film, capturing Scar's cunning ruthlessness, making him just as appealing an antagonist as ever. As for James Earl Jones as Mufasa, what can I say? I could listen to that man's voice all day long. He still managed to offer some changes in the way he performed his lines in contrast with the original, despite there again being vast similarities, and it was brilliant to listen to him give the Grand King life once more. Cinematic Circle of Life. The Lion King, 2019, certainly looks phenomenal. Its photorealistic animation actually looks photoreal, or pretty much as close to it as we've come so far, on more than one occasion. The environments often seem so real you could touch them. The water simulation is perhaps the best I've ever seen, and the animals all move, essentially, as realistically as CG creatures have ever moved. However, this does mean that the movie lacks most of the flair usually associated with animated works, even going so far as to omit emotion in favor of realism. The characters, whom are all inevitably anthropomorphized to some degree, don't really emote. Aside from providing ample range in their vocal performances, they remain as stony-faced as animals of their kind usually do. It's lucky that, for the most part, the cast do a terrific job at conveying everything that needs to be conveyed. However, when the singing starts, the believability of the vocal work starts to stretch beyond its limits. It just doesn't look like these lions, with their limited jaw range and general lack of visual articulation, are belting out the big notes that they're supposed to be. Again, it's a good job that the songs are as genuinely entertaining as they are. Sadly, the picture can't claim to own any of them except for a couple of originals that seem strangely out of place. On top of that, the musical sequences themselves aren't all that inspired. especially when compared to the original, The Lion King, 1994. I mean, the big, colorful, montagesque numbers from that flick are here replaced by often stiff and generally just sort of bland ones. The same is true, I suppose, of the whole affair. It doesn't change anything in terms of narrative but somehow makes things longer and less energetic. Of course, this is all in favor of its realist aesthetic, but it does make you wonder whether that's a wise choice. After all, why does this Shakespearean musical about talking lions need to be realistic? The end result is far less memorable than the 1994 classic. It's not as vibrant, lively or dynamic. It still tells an engaging, effective and occasionally emotionally affecting story, though. I can't deny that it's a fair bit of fun. It's not so much new as nostalgic, almost like an experiment on a large scale. It ultimately doesn't really feel worth the effort, however, because I'd rather watch the original and I think pretty much everyone else would, too. In 5 years' time, will this be remembered as a classic? No, it'll be remembered as a remake. It's a shame, as the technical work involved with it really is astounding. The true artistry required to make this work would probably have been better spent elsewhere. I suppose it's just a product of the cinematic circle of life, though. In 25 years' time, I guess we can expect an animated remake of this, so-called, live-action, effort. 6/10. The Lion King is great, that is a fact. The original animated film is Disney Gold, and this film captures that, for the most part, incredibly well. But, so often, the film is just a carbon copy of the original, scene for scene, with the same soundtrack, songs, cinematography and moments. True, there are some additional scenes added in, and some changes do occur, don't get me wrong, and occasionally, John Oliver as Zazu and Seth Rogen as Pumbaa insert some alternate, and very funny lines, but the film is, at its core, so close to being a mirror image to the original, that it's surreal. I will admit, the special effects are utterly perfect, and truly breathtaking to watch. It is impossible to tell this utterly perfect work of art apart from reality. That aside, it is still just a copy. Who has seen the Poseidon Adventure? Who saw the new Poseidon Adventure? Who saw Poseidon? All different, similar story, but each offer their own unique take on the narrative. Who saw Godzilla 1954? Who saw the 1997 American remake? God help me, I'm actually using this film to make a point. Who saw Godzilla 2014? Each of these films brings something new to the properties, with each project being vastly different. The Lion King, however, is thoroughly predictable. Some people will argue that is a good thing, and I understand that. Those I saw the movie with this evening said it reminded them of their childhood, their old friends, and what they used to do. It was incredibly nostalgic and melancholic for them, and I can't deny that I occasionally felt chills just watching it, in a good way, mind you. Donald Glover and Beyoncé absolutely knock it out of the park with their rendition of the tunes, and their voice acting of the central protagonists was really on the mark, though Beyoncé deserved significantly more opportunities because, you could just tell, she was loving the role. Florence Kasumba as hyena leader, Shenji, was a definite standout. She brought an undeniable sinisterness to the role that was absent from the animated feature, and Chiwetel Ejiofor as Scar was just sublime. Ejiofor's voice alone gave amazing presence to the film, capturing Scar's cunning ruthlessness, making him just as appealing an antagonist as ever. As for James Earl Jones as Mufasa, what can I say? I could listen to that man's voice all day long. He still managed to offer some changes in the way he performed his lines in contrast with the original, despite there again being vast similarities, and it was brilliant to listen to him give the Grand King life once more. The changes to the elephant graveyard scene were especially brilliant, and the many new faces added to the habitat that Timon and Pumbaa inhabit were cute, cuddly and added more character to the environment, making it feel more lived in. One massive change from the film, however, is the significant lack of any physical emotions. Though the actors deserve kudos for the emotive performances they provide, the faces of the animated characters presenting these lines remain stoic at best, even in the most emotive moments. Don't get me wrong, this feature still has some emotively powerful occasion, though some of the animated film's most tragic moments did not affect me as dearly in this adaptation, whereas others had an even more profound effect. At the end of the day, I would recommend this movie, however, so much that it does right, is just lifted from the original. As a teacher, I often tell my students that copying is a bad thing, having your own spin on it, and adding your own personality to something, to make it your own, is what makes it great, and I just wish that director, Jon Favreau, would have taken the opportunity to do something more with this beloved classic. I loved the original. I wanted to love this movie. I was over the moon excited for it. They took out too many important parts of the original, showing the strength of Mufasa but also his friendly side, his friendship with Zazu, how he respects and hugs Rafiki, that he taught Simba how to pounce. Even the opening scene wasn't the same. Why would you alter that? The huge rising sun in tune with the music that gives almost everyone goosebumps. The new one, you see trees with a slightly lit up morning sky and then a small sun appears off to the side that isn't in sync with the music. Mufasa's personality doesn't sound the same even though it's still James Earl Jones' voice. It's different somehow. The hyenas are not the same. They don't make jokes and laugh at themselves like, "Make mine a cub sandwich," then laugh hysterically at their own jokes. They eliminated Ed, the one who doesn't speak, just laughs. In preparation for this review, I rewatched the original film the day before seeing the new, live-action, remake. I found myself rediscovering why The Lion King has the staying power it does and why the film is truly timeless. The 1994 film is an animation masterpiece on par with what was done by Walt Disney himself and his original set of genius master animators. The Lion King has a wonderful mix of drama, comedy, music, charm, and a story that is both epic in scope and intimate enough to be relatable. The same cannot be said for this new version of The Lion King. Oh sure, it goes through the beats of the story, and the animation is impressive enough, but this film had no heart and no soul. The charm was gone, and it left me asking the question, why does this film exist at all when the 1994 original is vastly superior? Then I saw the box office news and it all made sense. Disney's recent string of live-action remakes of its classic animated features has been hit and miss. I've enjoyed a few of them, Cinderella in particular, and really disdained others, Beauty and the Beast. My feelings for the latter category stem from a frustration with the Disney talent pool's refusal to do something new or interesting with these properties while still maintaining the spirit of the original. And The Lion King, 2019, was probably the worst of these. The good, impressive animation and music. Not everything about this new Lion King was bad. The goal was to create photorealistic animals in a natural environment and, for the most part, director Jon Favreau and his crew succeeded. The animation was arguably well done. The characters did indeed look like real animals and behave like real animals, which is also part of the problem, but more on that later. Favreau also intended the film to resemble a nature documentary, and there are several scenes in the film where that approach could really be felt. The great Hans Zimmer improved and refined his wonderful, Academy Award-winning score from the first film, mainly with more diverse instrumentation and arrangements. The score sounded decidedly more African than it did, with less of an emphasis on synthesized music, a hallmark of Zimmer's scores in the 1980s and 1990s. Zimmer himself said that the score for the first film was rushed and he took it as a challenge to go back and try to fix some things. This new score, however, didn't diminish the brilliant score from the first film. I actually prefer the original, but I can appreciate the care Zimmer took to make the 2019 score richer. The bad, everything else. It's as simple as this: The Lion King, 2019, was a hollow husk of a film. While technically and visually interesting, it sapped all the charm and fun from that simple and profound story and repackaged it into a boring, lifeless film. There were so many ways that this film failed, but I wanted to focus on a couple that I think were probably the most egregious. The voice work on all the characters was bland at best and grating at worst. The insufferable voice of John Oliver made Zazu annoying instead of endearing. John Carney was a boring Rafiki, though I should probably blame that more on screenwriter Jeff Nathanso for a personality-free characterization. Billy Eichner annoyed me as Timon, and Seth Rogen had no resonance or emotional range for Pumbaa. And Chiwetel Ejiofor had none of the panache and evil charm that made Jeremy Irons Scar one of Disney Animation's best villains, but boy, did he lay on the scenery chewing for the awkwardly short, "Be Prepared" number. Particularly grating were Donald Glover and Beyoncé as adult Simba and Nala, respectively. Glover sounded lazy and unenthusiastic, which is, really, the way that he sounds in most of the films and TV shows in which I've seen him. Queen Bey simply cannot act, try as she did. Their rendition of "Can You Feel the Love Tonight" was hilariously one-sided, with Glover continuously enveloped by wave after wave of Beyoncé's vocal histrionics, unable to surface for air. The most heartbreaking performance was, ironically, the only actor to reprise their role from the original film. James Earl Jones, who powerfully voiced Mufasa in 1994, was a shadow of his original performance. He seemed old and tired with little vocal inflection and enthusiasm. He is, of course, 25 years older. This surprised me because Jones sounded very robust and lively returning to the role of Darth Vader for Rogue One, a Star Wars story only 3 years ago. I don't think Jones was into it, and his performance seemed to prove that. It was sad to hear such a powerful and dynamic character like Mufasa sound so defeated and tired, almost like he knew the stampede was coming. It was kind of a metaphor for the entire film, really. These voice performances were then married to the photorealistic visuals, which created an emotional disconnect. When the performances actually got genuinely emotional, the faces of the animals didn't convey this well enough. Why? Real animals don't facially emote like human beings. The realistic animation worked too well and the characters weren't able to properly emote. The end result was an uncanny valley effect that was awkward at best and jarring at worst. And this was the intention of the filmmakers, as stressed by Jon Favreau, as he broke down the film's opening in the video below. This was the film's most glaring flaw, and caused me to not care about any of the characters on screen. The great Warner Bros. Animation director Chuck Jones once quipped that animation means to invoke life, not imitate it. In other words, the best animation is an illusion that creates a sense of character and simultaneously a sense of weight and realism. Animation is also an exaggeration of life that bends the rules of realism just a bit to achieve a story's desired emotional effect, be it laughter or drama. The best animation follows those principles, and The Lion King, 2019, doesn't. What's sad is that this basic principle has been understood since Walt Disney and his original animators were creating films. The 2019 Lion King was too much of a slave to realism and left the characters with a peculiar disconnect between the emotion of the voice, when it was clear, and the non-emotional faces of the animals. Any emotions I felt, and more than likely you felt as well, during key scenes like Mufasa's death were derived from our memories of the emotions of the original film. Zazu was probably the most glaring example, as he had absolutely no change to his face whatsoever, no matter what was being said, because birds don't smile, frown, etc. It limited the character's emotional range. Any deviation from realistic animal behavior in the 2019 film seemed awkward and unreal, adding another note of off-putting peculiarity to the film. The "I just can't wait to be king" segment was boring. The characters couldn't really do anything comparable to the original. It had none of the visual excitement and exaggeration of the original because the realism of the film's tone prevented things like a visually interesting tower made up of animals from appearing. Instead, we got a bunch of realistic animals running around in circles, emotionally singing with unemotional faces. No worries and responsibility. The emotional inadequacies of The Lion King, 2019, obfuscated the rich themes of the original story. For a film with such a simple plot, there's a lot to unpack, with allusions to themes like power, grace, and responsibility. That last concept is the one that really resonated with me during my recent viewing of the 1994 original. Upon the death of his father, Simba fled the Pride Lands and ended up in a lazy, selfish lifestyle, enjoyable as it may have been in the moment. This problem-free philosophy enabled Simba to shirk his responsibilities as the true king and give in to his fear of what might happen should he return. As we grow into adulthood, we gain more and more responsibility in our lives. It's a sign of true maturation when we can handle the big responsibilities of life like holding down a job, maintaining a marriage, raising children, and the like. These responsibilities tend to make us less selfish over time. Indeed, our Creator built us to have these types of responsibilities, going all the way back to the first human beings in the book of Genesis. However, like Simba, sometimes we allow ourselves to run away from our responsibilities. We are afraid to take on the burdens of adulthood because we want to be selfish and live a problem-free life. But there are consequences to the choices we make, and nothing truly is problem-free. Today's culture at large seems to share a fear of growing up and responsibility. I see it all the time walking around places like malls where 20-somethings are dressed in childish things like onesie pajamas made for adults while they sip on their Starbucks, and the culture is more than happy to cater to their every whim. Many young people are waiting longer and longer to marry and have children because of this fear and aversion toward responsibility. As King Solomon said, "There is nothing new under the sun," and shirking responsibility has been going on as long as there have been human beings. It is an affliction common to everyone, even the heroes of the Bible. Many biblical characters have tried at one point or another to pass off their responsibilities, even those bequeathed to them by God Almighty Himself. Moses tried to convince God that he had the wrong man to lead his people out of Egypt. Jonah literally ran away from the task God gave him. In the New Testament, Jesus told a parable about a son who ran away from his responsibilities at home and threw his inheritance away on a hedonistic lifestyle. We were created to bear the responsibilities of life, responsibilities our God has given us. And when we try to avoid them, like Simba did, things seem out of balance. The amazing thing is that God seems to always have a way of setting things right, but only if we are open to following His plan and eventually accepting our responsibilities. However, some people are more receptive to God's call than others. In the case of Jonah, he was so stubborn and averse to fulfilling the task God had given him that God had a whale swallow Jonah to teach him that he couldn't run away from his responsibilities. God gave Jonah mercy and an opportunity to set things right again. In Jesus' parable, the prodigal son returned home battered and broken from the hard living he had been doing. His father celebrated his son's return, even though he had every reason to cast him out again. What Jesus was explaining was God's forgiving nature, His inexhaustible ability to not excuse our irresponsibility, but provide grace for those moments, welcoming us back with open arms and a joyful heart. His grace and new mercies empower us to be better and want to take on those responsibilities in our lives. Indeed, whenever we sin and go against God, we are, in effect, rebelling against His plan for us and shirking the responsibilities He has placed on us. But again, God has a way to make things right, and He did that through Jesus Christ. The mercy and grace God showed us and continues to show us should be more than enough for us to return to what God has planned and accept His will with humility. We must have faith that God is with us to help us bear those burdens of life and do so with joy and peace. The Circle of Life opening sequence of course made me cry, and is essentially a scene-by-scene transition from classic animation to lifelike, photorealistic CGI. But this is the only scene-by-scene remake aspect of the film, and it seemed to be more for nostalgia than lack of creativity. There are some serious nods to super nerds like me who can find such subtle Easter eggs as a nod to the CGI scene in the 1994 one, which was a change in focus from the ants to the zebras. It was groundbreaking technology in 1994, and the filmmakers choosing to include it in 2019 warmed my heart. As someone who has seen the 1994 classic so many times, I can basically watch it in my head whenever I choose. I can confidently say this is not a scene-by-scene update. There are lots of script changes, lots of different angles and shots. The story is the same, of course, as it should be. For my husband, who has seen the animated film a number of times but not as many as me, I'm probably a world record holder. To be honest, he felt like it was really similar cinematically. He's also clearly wrong, because aside from the opening sequence, this story is told in a different way. But whatever. He can have his opinion, I guess. The quality of the film is spectacular. The CGI is so lifelike that I desperately want to bury my face in Mufasa's mane, and I want a pet lion, you know, if it weren't morally irresponsible and unsafe, etc. The background is so lifelike, and the flora and fauna are incredibly detailed. My favorite scene from 25 years ago is Simba and Mufasa under the stars, as Mufasa explains about the great kings of the past. This scene was made for CGI. With the glorious night sky, I felt like I could reach out and touch Mufasa's mane, ruffle Simba's cub fur, and felt like I was there. It was magical. The adaptation from animation to CGI is a big jump, and this film feels like it's live action. The scene I was most curious about transitioning was, I just can't wait to be king, as it has a separate, and very 90s, tone differing from the rest of the film. Instead of going goofy with it like 1994 did, this 2019 version does something incredibly clever. They use the original choreography, but have the animals at the watering hole doing natural behaviors. Finding ways these animals move normally and incorporating it with the former choreography floored me. The final word. Disney's The Lion King is a modern animation masterpiece, worthy of being held next to animated classics like Pinocchio, Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, and Cinderella. The Lion King 2019 is a hollowed-out copy that is bereft of all the original's heart and meaning. It is a joyless and soulless cash grab, plain and simple, grafting the genuine emotions from the original onto new versions of these beloved characters who cannot visually convey those emotions. If you must see one of these films, see the 1994 original. It is a superior film in every conceivable way. Like Simba, we may feel like shading the responsibilities of life and life problem-free. But that is not the way we were meant to live. We learn through responsibility, and our Creator has many lessons to teach us through the burdens we bear in this life. And we have assurance from God Himself that He will be there to give us the strength and wisdom to approach these responsibilities with a thankful heart.